Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's setup is a bit different from my usual. I've been getting a lot of requests from people all over my social media platforms asking me to do a houseplant tour. Just showing you guys all of the houseplants that I own. I would say beginning last year, I started to collect some houseplants. Before then, I did not think that I could take care of plants whatsoever, but I started doing research. I started finding some that I really could take care of in my conditions, and I've kind of gotten a very large collection. So when I was thinking about filming this video, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous because one, it is not really anything that I think I'm an expert in. Not saying I'm an expert in makeup and beauty and stuff, but I'm comfortable talking about that kind of stuff. When it comes to plants, I know that it's a bit different. If you're not interested in this type of video, that's totally fine. I'm going to be continuing to do my beauty and makeup in my usual YouTube videos. So if you don't want to watch this one, that's okay. Now, if you guys haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram for more content whenever I'm not on YouTube. I was thinking about doing it in an order based on the type of plant it is, but honestly, I have so many that are all over the place. It's kind of hard to compound them all together. So I'm gonna kind of go and, I don't know, just talk about what's in front of me, I guess. Some of these plants I only know the common names for, some of them I know the Latin names for, but I will be putting all of the names in the video for you guys. So if you're interested in finding a plant like it, or you've seen it before, you don't know what it's called, I hope that it helps you guys. Okay, this is my first plant. Well, not my first ever, but one of the first plants that I had purchased when I started this plant journey. This is a Pilea peperomiode, or a Chinese money plant, or a friendship plant, I believe people call it. And people call it that because it grows little pups so quickly. This one was my mother plant. She's kind of like dropping her bottom leaves, and I have it in this little ceramic pot that I actually found at Home Goods, and my boyfriend drilled a hole in the bottom, so I had a drainage hole because very important when it comes to watering plants. I really love this. My mom says it looks like weeds outside. Because it shoots out a ton of pups, I recently repotted a lot of its pups, so this is one of them. I think I have 2 or 3 other nursery pots with other pups in them. You can share these with friends. They're really, really easy to take care of. I just water it whenever the soil is completely dry. All right, so the next plant I have is this one. This is a Peperomia obtusifolia. It is a beautiful, just really green, healthy looking plant. I just have the regular form of it. I know that it comes in a variegated form. I love how succulent these leaves are. They're really thick leaves. This one's a very easy one to take care of as well. I make sure to let this one completely dry out before I give it a good soaking, and I will water it a little bit at a time until I start to see water coming out from the bottom. This one is still in its nursery pot because it seems to be pretty happy in here. So I think I'm gonna keep it in here for a little while and then put it in a catch pot. I think it's a catch pot or a quiche pot. What that is just a decorative pot. So for a lot of my plants, I like to keep them in their nursery pots just because I feel like they do very well in them, unless their roots are growing really, really big and just kind of taking over the pot. I'll keep them in here as long as possible just to let them acclimate to their environment without shocking them in their pots. So I'll take a pot like this, I'll just stick that in there, and it looks perfect. It's super cute, and you could put this anywhere and no one would know that it's still in its nursery pot. So good little tip for you guys. All right, my next plant is this one. This is a golden pothos. Pothos in general are very easy plants to take care of. These are just some propagated pothos. In this case, I put these cuttings in water and then they grew roots, and then I potted them. I really like how dainty this one looks, and I put this in a little corner on my windowsill, and it seems to be pretty happy, and they grow so quickly. They trail. You could like stake them up if you wanted to. This is a Hoya kerrii, or a sweetheart plant. The name is because it looks like a heart. So as you guys can see, it looks like a little heart. So this one is actually growing a new leaf, as you can see right there. I'm not really sure if this is going to stay light green the way that it's growing in, or if it's going to be a dark green like the mother leaf, but either way, I'm really excited. I let this one completely dry out, and then I'll water it just a bit. This one sits at a southeast facing window sill, and it really likes it. It gets a lot of morning light, and it's been happy so far. All right, this one is just a drama queen. I don't know how else to talk about it. This is a Fittonia, or a nerve plant, and I bought this one at Walmart because it was like $2. The foliage is just so pretty with the white on them, but you can see right here she's kind of drooping. But I've heard Fittonias in general are very picky. You have to make sure that you keep them very moist. They like low light. This is my only Fittonia, and we'll see how this one goes, but it's really cute otherwise. I mean, once this one kind of recovers from whatever it's going through, I think it'll be a very, very good addition to my collection. All right, this next plant has to be one of my favorite plants. This right here. This is an oxalis, or a purple shamrock. I just love the coloring. It speaks for itself. It's a dark, dark purple. The one that I have is mainly just a consistent dark purple. I know that other people have some that are dark purple with a little bit of black lining the leaves. I have more leaves growing right in there. This one literally has just taken off. I bought this a few months ago on a whim. I didn't really know anything about oxalises, but I saw it and I was like, that's cute. And it was like $5, so I was like, why not? And it had way less growth whenever I bought it. It actually has a bunch of blooms, and the flowers are just so pretty. They're like a light purple color. I can't tell you how in love I am with this thing. I put it in a white pot, like I put the nursery pot into a white pot, and it just pops so much, and it's beautiful. It's really cool because the leaves actually open during the day when it's taking in the sunlight, and then it closes at night and it turns into this triangle form, which is why it's called a Oxalis triangularis. Highly recommend it if you can find it. It comes in a green shamrock form. I've seen it. Oh, I actually have another one in a different form, but it's not doing too great right now. So this is another oxalis that I have, and I'm pretty sure it's dying. I don't know, but this is an Oxalis plum crazy. This is it right here. I bought this off of Steve's Leaves, and it has like purple, pink, green hues to it. I did neglect it a little bit when I got it in because I was thinking that it didn't need water right away, but little did I know it did need water, and it's just kind of dying like in there. But we're gonna get through this. You can definitely recover plants. Don't think because you have a couple of leaves dropping or dying that it's like done for. You can definitely fix it if you do your research and you figure out exactly what it needs. Trust me, I've killed plenty of plants, but I've also recovered a ton of plants, so don't be discouraged. Just do your research. So another favorite of mine, this one has to have been the first plant that I obsessed for. I searched the internet for, and I searched every store for, couldn't find it in stores, and I finally bought it online. It is this one right here. It's beautiful. This is my string of hearts, and it has grown tremendously. It was about half the length that it is now. It is a little difficult for me to take care of. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's getting enough light. I don't even know how long it is. I've had a little bit of a time with this one right here because they don't like to be super moist. They don't like the soil to be moist. They're more like a succulent in the sense that they like to dry out. So I just try to water this maybe once a couple of weeks and just leave it alone and put it in some bright light, leave it alone, let it grow. I'm currently trying to revive the top because it is starting to bald, which is totally normal for a string of hearts or any trailing plant in general. But I just swirled some of the little leaves in there and I'm hoping that it encourages it to grow. I highly recommend this one to everybody because it's just so pretty when it's trailing and it looks so like dainty and elegant. I bought mine at Pistil's Nursery, which I love their plants. I've ordered from them several times. Oh no, it just got caught on another one. Goodbye, little hearts. This is a Sansevieria. I'm not quite sure what type of Sansevieria it is. I will look it up for you guys. This one's really cute. It's very easy, almost like a succulent as well. You just let this completely dry. This one does not like to stay moist, so you got to make sure that you're not overwatering this guy, and it'll do perfectly fine. These things grow super quickly. When I bought it, it was probably the size of this leaf right here. I did repot this one in some cactus soil and a little bit of organic potting soil mix and some perlite, and it seems to like it, and it's in a bright window. You can put this one in direct sunlight for a couple hours and I haven't had a problem with it, but just test it out and see what you think. I'm not sure again what it is, but it is a succulent. I don't have a ton of succulents. This one is really, really cool. It looks like a fake plant because they do sell this as a fake plant pretty much everywhere, and it's just dark green and it has white speckles on it. I put it in this little gray terracotta pot. I have this one in the same area that I have that Sansevieria, and it's doing very well. All right, so I have this string of bananas that I'm trying to grow. It was a larger pot, but then it wasn't doing too well, so then I cut it up and I put it in some new soil. This is what it looks like. They usually hang down. I'm hoping that this one grows pretty well, and these are similar to succulents. You don't want to overwater them. They hold water and moisture inside of the little beads, so they don't need a ton. Maybe once every couple of weeks, or maybe more often if you live in a very hot area like I do. You can typically tell if it needs water by giving it a little squish like the beads, and if they feel really soft, then you can water it, but if they're still pretty tough and they're just holding its shape, then I would just leave it alone. I keep this in a southeast facing window and it really likes the morning sunlight. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also have a tiny little Hoya kerrii right here. So this is the one that I showed you guys earlier, and this is the other one that I have. This is the first one that I bought, and it's just so cute in this little pot. I bought this on the sill. I have these succulents as well. These were probably one of the first plants that I bought, and it's just really leggy. It likes to be in this pot. I don't know what they're called either. I wish that I did, but I just have them, and I've had them for a long time. They're resilient, really. They don't die ever. I keep it in this terracotta pot because terracotta soaks up moisture a lot faster, so it's good for succulents. And I water this one, I want to say once every 2 to 3 weeks, and it does perfectly fine. All right, one of my other absolute favorite plants is this guy right here. This is my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, or my RT. I originally bought a very large plant of this back in November, I believe, and it was huge. Like, it was staked up, and then I had it on a chair, and it was just so happy and thriving when I got it. But then I ended up overwatering it, which is the #1 plant no-no. It's like the biggest killer of plants. So yeah, it started to die and it had root rot really badly. So I initially just cut it up and I propagated the cuttings that were still healthy. And luckily, every cutting except for one, I believe, started to grow. So I have this guy right here, and then I have 2, 3, I believe I have 4 cuttings. I just gave one of my friends a cutting and he was really excited about it because these are pretty difficult to find, if I do say so myself. I've only ever seen it in the one store that I bought it from back in November, which was in Tampa, Florida. These almost have monstera-like fenestrations. I know that they always get confused with monsteras, but they're not monsteras. This one is just growing like crazy. Whenever I potted it in the soil to try to save it, it only had, I want to say, maybe 2 or 3 leaves on here, and it's just shooting out some growth The leaves are just so gorgeous and they all vary, which makes them super special in my opinion. These do grow aerial roots, which means that they have roots that can grab onto things. So you could put a moss pole in the planter and the roots will kind of grow onto the pole and just stick on there and start to grow upwards. I have this right in a windowsill, a southeast facing windowsill. It gets a lot of morning light, a little bit of afternoon light, and it's happy. I just stick my finger in the soil to see whenever I need to water it. If the soil is still cold and a little damp, I leave it alone. I also have a moisture meter that I use to help me figure out when to water because I was notorious for overwatering when I started taking care of plants. All right, so this one is a big boy. This is my money tree. And I have it in this pot right here. I believe I bought this pot at Home Depot or Lowe's, just one of those places. I have little stakes right here to keep it up because I actually bought this one when it was teeny tiny. And I'm telling you guys, it was small. He is just resilient, he's constantly growing. Like there's more growth right there. I feel like anywhere that I put it, it's just happy. There are some burns on it, like on the tips right here. I do have some browning and it has been burnt, but overall, he's doing pretty dang well. So currently I have him in a northeast facing window and it gets really early morning light, and sometimes I'll move it around and put it in like a south facing window. And keep it a little far back from the windowsill because I don't want him to continue to burn. I started to braid the trunks and kind of tie them off because, like I said, it did start growing a lot, so I decided that I wanted to continue to braid the trunks. And for this one in particular, I don't wait until water comes out of the drainage hole because there's only one small drainage hole in this pot. And I feel like if I did that, then the soil would just be way too wet and it wouldn't be able to soak up all the moisture. So I give it a good watering until the top of the soil is wet, and then I leave it alone. This one can be watered, I'd say a week and a half apart. Okay, so this one is giant as well. This is my Monstera deliciosa. I actually have two of these and I'll show you guys the other one in a little bit. But this one I found at Lowe's, which was exciting. It was only $12 and it was doing so well whenever I picked it up. It has so many fenestrations in the leaves already. It has some new growth in there. Right here, that's some new growth, which is exciting. This one was burnt a little bit because I did leave it out in the sun at some point and he got some burns. Like there's a leaf right there that's opening and it's burnt, but that's okay, it happens. I shine them every once in a while with water and a soft cloth, or sometimes I'll use some neem oil and dilute it in some water and shine them because that really helps, one, with preventing bugs, and two, just letting the leaves shine. And it's growing season, so I feel like you guys will definitely be able to get your hands on one of these. This one is my first and only plant purchase from Etsy. I was very weary about buying plants on Etsy. I don't know why, I just get nervous about that kind of stuff, but I had to because I could not find this one anywhere else. It's this guy right here. This is a Peperomia prostrata, or a string of turtles. This is the cutest thing I've ever seen. It has so much growth going on right now. If you guys can see all around here, those are new little leaves that are forming, and I am obsessed with this guy. This one also has some blooms, and basically what that means is flowers. Peperomia flowers don't really look like ordinary flowers. They're kind of just like these rat tail things, but they're blooms, so that means that they're healthy. So when I bought this one, I got 4 cuttings in the mail, and it was just 4 cuttings with about 10 of these leaves on each. And I was like, I don't know how to root these. And they said to just put it on some soil and spritz it with water every day and that they would start to root. Well, for me, I did that for a while, for a couple of weeks actually, and nothing was happening. I kept checking the roots and absolutely nothing. So I was getting a little frustrated, so I looked up a better way to grow this. So what I ended up doing, I decided to buy some sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss basically retains way more moisture than water does. So I put this on a bed of sphagnum moss, and then I would spritz that every couple of days. Or actually, I think at first I did every couple of days, and then I started to do it morning and night whenever I noticed the roots were growing, and then they just took off like whenever I had them in the moss. I also took some cuttings because you can take the leaves off of this and then grow them that way. And I did that. It took a little bit longer, but it did work. So these are some cuttings. These are the leaf cuttings, and I put it on sphagnum moss as well. And I just recently put it in soil, and it's starting to grow some stems in there or some roots. Basically what I did is I bought this little tray thing that I got from a gardening center in town, and it also has this little window thing that you can open and close depending on how much humidity you want to give it. So I would spray the soil every day, and then I would close that little sliding window thing, and it would create really humid temperatures in there for the prostratas, and it just started to take off. Also, right now I have some cuttings in there. I have some burrow tail cuttings. So this is one of the cuttings, and they're all basically looking like that right now. They're doing really well, so I hope they continue to do well in this little propagation station that I have. So this is the one and only cactus that I own. It's just a baby that I found, and it was like $2 at the nursery, so I was like, why not? So these are the burrow tails that I have right now. I actually bought cuttings of this one as well, and then I put them in soil. These are in a southeast facing window upstairs on a windowsill, and they get a lot of good light. They are doing way better over there than they were doing down here. So this is my next plant. This is a spath or a peace lily. And it didn't do too well for a little while. I'm not gonna lie. I had bought it and it was very root bound. I had asked the girl at the nursery if I needed to repot it, and she was like, no, I think it's fine. Like, you can leave it for a little while because it likes to be root bound. So I did, and then all of a sudden, within 2 days, it went from being super beautiful and bright to just drooping and turning completely yellow. Like, I kid you not, I had like 20 leaves at the bottom that were just super yellow. All right, so right here you can see it has some white striping to it, really pretty variegation. Like I said, these really enjoy moist soil, so I tend to water this guy once every 2 to 3 days, and seems pretty happy. I have it away from a window. It actually just gets bright indirect sunlight, and it's doing fine. These are easy to figure out when you need to water because all of its leaves will start to just like really droop down. All right, my next one is right here. I was looking for it for a very long time. This is a string of pearls, and this is also a type of succulent trailing plant. The beads are just so adorable. When it grows very long. I have one long little stem right there, which it's pretty cute, but I want all of it to grow super long. These also hold moisture in them, so you do not need to water this a lot. A lot of people kill their string of pearls by overwatering them, so I've been super careful. I use my moisture meter on this guy. I don't want the pearls to get exposed to water and have water sitting on them because that can create some mushy pearls and also just shrivel them up. So I've been bottom watering this guy, just putting him in a bowl of water, and it seems to be working perfectly fine. Not even gonna lie, I think that I only water this once a month because I'm so afraid of it just dying on me and getting root rot. This one currently sits in a southwest window. I actually kind of move it throughout the day, so during the day it's a little farther back. I'd say 5 to 7 feet away from the window, but it still gets good bright light. And then when I get home at night around 5 or 6, I'll put it on my curtain rod, and I'll just hang it on my curtain rod and give it some good bright direct sunlight, and it seems to be very happy. I have a lot of good growth coming out of this guy. And actually, to accompany that, I have this baby string of pearls right here. I bought this one on a random site, I don't even remember, but I potted him and he's doing really well. He has like little strings down this way. This one is in a southeast facing window right against the windowsill, and he's very happy. I'm very happy with the way it's looking, so hopefully this guy just continues to grow. This is a Hoya kerrii, and this one's very interesting because its leaves feel like leather in my opinion. So they have this kind of pattern to them, and their leaves feel really, really rough. It's pretty interesting. There was a little bit of time where I was like, I don't even know if I want this, but then I saw that a lot of plant people were really wanting to get this plant. So I was like, well, maybe it's worth holding on to. I've had it for a couple months now and it has grown so much. I don't think it even had half of the trailing leaves that it had before. If you can see these little roots down here, it's going to continue to grow. So this one only gets watered maybe once a month as well. The soil is still pretty good. Sometimes the soil from stores like big box stores, because I bought this one at Lowe's, sometimes their soil can be kind of crappy and it'll get really hard. But this one is pretty good and it's really happy in this container. I'm just gonna keep it in here for a while. All right, here is my first ficus. Well, not my first ever, but the first one I'm showing you guys. I have not been able to actually find what this one is called. It was just called a ficus at the nursery that I went to. This guy just keeps on growing. I love how bright green all of the leaves are. I like to shine these leaves and clean them as well. You want to make sure that your leaves are not dusty and you clean them off at least once a month, because that'll improve how much sunlight it's taking in through its leaves. Overall, I feel like it's a very even plant. Like, it has leaves on every side and it's looking really good, and it looks so good just like in a room because it's so bright. I just water it whenever it's pretty much dry, like the soil is dry more than halfway through. The leaves definitely will droop and it'll tell you when it wants some water, so yeah. Next up, I have my Ficus elastica variegata. This is basically just the same ficus, but it has some variegation to it. It's so beautiful. It looks fake to me. I love how the stems are like a reddish pink hue, and then it has just different colored green or different shades of green in them, and then these yellow out layers. It has some new growth up here. This one's very happy. It just sits a couple feet away from a southeast facing window and it seems to be pretty happy there. That's also a very big one on Instagram. I'm sure you guys have seen that one a lot. And then I have this Ficus elastica burgundy, I believe. So it's the same thing as those first two, but it's burgundy. So its leaves are a very, very dark green color. This one needs a little bit of shining. Overall, very healthy guy. I had to put some top dressing on him, and basically all that means is to put more soil on the top because the roots were starting to expose themselves. I bottom water these just because the roots are pretty down in there and they're very thick roots at the bottom. So I feel like it does really well whenever it gets to pull the water from the bottom and pull it up. I give it good direct sunlight in the morning time, but I think I should give it some afternoon sun as well. I don't know. And you can definitely tell when these are thirsty because the leaves will droop. I just watered mine yesterday, so it's doing fairly well right now. But yeah, those are my ficuses. Next one I have is this one right here. This is a Cebu blue. This is a type of pothos and it's gorgeous. So this one is a fairly new one to my collection. I saw that people were finding this at Walmart's of all places, and I found mine at Walmart. Like, I ran to the Walmart after like a day of seeing someone's video on it, and I found so many, and I actually bought two for myself and I bought another one for my friend. It is a pothos, but the thing that I like about this one is not only does it have a silvery blue hue to the leaves, I don't know if you guys can see that, but also the shape of the leaves compared to other pothos is so different. This is way more narrow and thin. This is a golden pothos, and then these are the Cebu blue pothos leaves. And I just think that there's such a good variation. I think these are going to become very, very popular now that they're being sold more openly. And these originate from the Philippines, and I'm Filipino, so I was like, I need it. This one is doing super, super well in its nursery pot. It's grown this long trail right here, and it's going to continue to grow. All right, this is another pothos, I believe. This is an enjoy. This one's really cool. Oh yeah, it's an Epipremnum pearls and jade, not an enjoy, I'm sorry. This one's leaves are so cool. It has some really nice white and green variegation to them. I like how dense this is in the pot, and it's just so pretty to look at. It gives the shelf a little bit of life because it breaks up all of the green that's on there. Again, whenever the soil is feeling really dry, I will go ahead and water it. This one will also tell you when it's thirsty because its leaves will start to droop. Whenever the leaves aren't feeling as strong and they're kind of like thin and wilty, then you can go ahead and water this guy. Next up, we have my watermelon peperomia. This is a Peperomia argyria, I believe, and I just cut one of the leaves off to propagate because I actually propagated this guy and it did so well. This is called a watermelon peperomia because the leaves look like watermelons. They look like the outside of a watermelon, and it's really cool. I love the way this looks. This one can take bright indirect light and it's fine. I just water it whenever the soil feels completely dry because I'm kind of scared that I'm going to overwater this. And because of the new growth, I just really don't want to risk that. So I wait until it gets a little droopy. For instance, this one right here. And I actually propagated a couple of the leaves, I want to say last month. And look at this, guys. Look at this growth. It's insane. I just cut one of the leaves off and then cut them in half. It's these two right here. Potted it in soil, covered it with a Ziploc bag to give it some humidity, and it just started growing like crazy. You can see right here it's growing new leaves and it's just super happy. I recently took it out of the Ziploc to just let it take in all of the light and start growing like a plant normally would. My tip for propagating this is definitely to put it in some soil and then soak the soil completely. At first I had been spraying it and nothing was really happening. So then I gave the soil a good soaking and then put a plastic bag over it, and then the roots started to just shoot out. And I had it right in a southeast facing windowsill, and it was getting really good light throughout the day, and it just started sprouting, and I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. Next up, I have another pothos. You guys can tell I really like pothos. They're just really pretty, and I love how big they get. This is a satin pothos right here. The leaves are just gorgeous. The leaves have a silvery, shiny hue to them, and it's just the prettiest thing. These can take low to bright light. It really just depends on how much you want to give it. I also have a smaller one in a small terracotta pot upstairs in a macrame hanger. Pothos in general are really easy to propagate, so I highly recommend to do it. If it starts to trail way more than you want, you can just snip off the bottom ends and then put them in water, and then it'll start growing roots so quick. Next up, I have this not so happy Hoya carnosa compacta. Hoya compacta carnosa. One of those, but this is a variegated form of it, and it's called a Hindu rope. This guy is a little difficult for me just because it's hard to tell when to water him. I've heard that whenever the leaves get really wrinkly, you can water it. I have been neglecting it. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of forget about it. I think I need to repot it because I don't think it's happy in this soil anymore. But regardless, it's a beautiful plant. I do have a non-variegated form right here, a lot smaller. When it comes to Hoyas, don't cut off these little branches at the end because that's actually where the new growth comes from. So if you want your plant to keep growing, don't cut off its growth system. My last pothos is this one. This is a Marble Queen pothos. Actually, no, I have one more. I'm sorry. I let her sit in some hard soil for a little too long. Kind of suffered a bit, but I repotted it and I put it in some better soil, so it's looking really sad, but it's looking a lot better than what it was, and I'm hoping that she continues to grow. There's some yellow leaves. It happens, guys. Don't be too discouraged. When it comes to variegated forms of plants, they do need more sunlight because they do have less green to take in the sun. Wherever the sun is during the day, I'll just move it next to that window. This right here is my alocasia, or my dragon shield. So far, so good. I've had some smaller leaves at the bottom kind of yellow and die. I've kind of been messing around with the care. These don't like direct sunlight. I keep it in more of a low to medium brightness. And I think I need to change the potting medium because this is still the same medium that it was in when I bought it. Look at the size of that leaf right now. I've seen really large versions of this same plant and it's really pretty, but I kind of like the small version. It's really nice just sitting on the shelf. They like moist soil but not wet soil, so it's kind of a weird medium that I'm still trying to figure out, but I really enjoy having this. So this is my other Hoya that I've had for a very long time. It's one of my first plants that I ever bought, and she's doing really well in this terracotta pot. I like to keep it in terracotta because I've noticed that it starts to get really wilty whenever it's in wet soil for too long. So I moved it to a terracotta pot and it's doing fairly well. I have some bobby pins in there because the top started to bald and I wanted to make sure that it looked more full up top like it does right now. So I put some bobby pins in there to kind of wrap some of the trailing leaves. So I took like a leaf like this and I wrapped it on the top, and I think it's working. I see a little bit of new growth up top. It doesn't require a lot of light. It can take low to bright light. Mine has lost a lot of variegation because for a while there I was keeping it in a low light area. If you do that, just be sure that you know that the leaves will turn more of a green hue because it'll be searching for that sun. So the gold in the leaves will start to fade. This is a lemon lime pothos. I'm not entirely convinced that it's a pothos, but this is what it looks like. It has lemon lime leaves and it's just super pretty. So again, I repotted it, put some water in there, and it's starting to perk up very nicely. Next we have this one. This is a very odd looking plant. I had seen it at the nursery a couple times before I was finally like, you know what, it's cool, I'm gonna get it. I think it's just a Rhaphidophora cactus, Rhaphidophora something. It's just like really stringy. It has some good new growth at the top right there. This one likes to be in a little bit more moist soil and a humid climate, so I keep this by my humidifier. I will water it whenever I feel like the top of the soil is dry. It's just really cool looking. I knew my boyfriend was really gonna like this one too, so I was like, I'm gonna get it. This is my string bean Hoya. This is a fun little one. Just looks like that. It looks like string beans. And it has these little stick things right here. That's where the new growth comes from. And these can trail down, they can hang down. I've seen these in nurseries in much larger pots where they're super full and just trailing. I have it on that shelf right there, so I'd say it's about 10 feet away from a window, and it's doing pretty well. Sometimes I put it on a windowsill if I feel like it's starting to look a little bit too sad. Here is my other monstera. This was the first one that I bought, and when I bought it, it was the tiniest little thing. It was like in a 6-inch pot and it had no fenestrations, but it started to grow and it started to get some fenestrations, and I almost cried because I was so excited. It has more growth coming in right here, if you can see that one. This right here, this one right here. It's growing season, guys, so this one's super happy. It's just done so well, and it's been so fun to watch it grow from a baby to like this pretty sizable thing right here. Next up, I have this Hoya Chelsea, I believe. I don't typically buy a lot of my plants from Lowe's anymore, but I saw this recently and I just couldn't pass it up because I had never seen a Chelsea at Lowe's, so I got it. And this one's really cool. It has a little bit of indent in the foliage right there. At first I thought it was a crinkle 8, but I don't think that it is. But I really like the green foliage that this has and the succulent leaves that it has. It's trailing really nicely, and it has some new growth right here, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to see this guy grow up into whatever it's going to become. I have not watered this guy yet, but I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do it soon because the soil is starting to feel a little bit dry. I think I might bottom water this one as well because I don't want to ruin the top leaves and ruin the density of that. All right, next I have this one right here. It has the coolest white stem right here. It's in this small little pot. I think this is just a 4-inch pot, and it's really happy. It gets some bright and direct light. I don't give it too much, and I water this one maybe once a week, and it's doing really well. I also have this guy right here. This is a ZZ plant. I will put the Latin name for you guys because I can't say the Latin name. I have some growth happening right now. This guy likes to be super root bound, if you can see Ooh, look at all those roots. I need to repot it soon. These are such easy plants because they thrive in low light. They don't give people much issues at all. So this is a really, really good one if you're afraid of killing a plant. Get a ZZ plant. It will just ride on through the adventure of life. And the new growth comes in a lot lighter and then they darken over time with the more sunlight that they get. So I just water this when it's completely dry. You do not want to overwater this guy, especially if it's somewhere it's not getting a lot of light. All right, I have here my parlor palm. It's my only palm, and I kind of want a ponytail palm because those are just so cute, and it doesn't require a lot at all. This one's a super easy houseplant, especially for beginners. It needs barely any water. If you forget to water it, it's very forgiving. I have some new shoots coming up right here. They're a little lighter in hue. I water this one maybe once every 2 weeks, and I can put this anywhere in my home and it's fine. Like, I've never had an issue with it. It's not right against a window. It's pulled a couple feet back from a window, and it's doing very, very well in my opinion. And then this is kind of a newer one for me. This is an Impatiens morsii or morsii velvetia, which is a secret love plant. I'm not too familiar with this plant at all. Like I said, I just got it maybe a week ago, but I just love the stem and how it's pink and it just pops against the really dark foliage. It does have a bit of a velvet texture to it, which is so interesting to me. I have only one other plant like that. I've heard that these like to stay moist and they love humidity, so I have it with all my Calatheas in the back with the humidifier. Had to take a little dinner break. This video is taking a very long time to film, but we're almost done. So let's move on to the next bundle of plants. Next plant I have is right here. This is a Hoya obovata. It is in the Hoya family, so it does have those succulent-like leaves. This one actually came to me shipped a bit damaged. Some of the leaves were cracked, like this one right here. There was some browning. I had some leaves dying, and honestly I do feel like this type of plant in general is hard to ship because it does take up a good amount of space and the leaves are pretty fragile, so I'm not mad about it. I actually went ahead when I got it and put it in some new fresh soil because the soil that it was in was getting a little hard and a little bit too dry, I guess, too quickly. This one's just really pretty because of the white splashes that it has. And my last hanging plant I have is right here, and I believe this is another Hoya. I will put it in the video as all the other ones will be. And this is really pretty. I thought that I would pick this up because it was just very full. I love the variegation that it has right here, like the white leaves. There's some new growth coming in here that I'm very pleased about, and it's been happy in here. I haven't had to repot it or anything just yet. I think I will be fertilizing this one pretty soon just to see if it'll grow faster or longer for me. I have a Monstera adansonii right here, and if you guys are at all into plants, you guys know that Monstera adansonii are very big. They fall into the same category as Monstera deliciosas. They're in the same family. This actually was a very hard one for me to find, but I finally found it on Steve's Leaves online, and I ordered it right before it sold out. Like, I saw that they had restocked, and then I grabbed one as quickly as I could, and then they sold out within like the next 30 minutes. So I got very, very lucky. It's just in this 4-inch pot right here. I'm excited to see this one grow, and I will be putting this one on a pole because I would like to see it climb. The aerial roots are getting a little burnt, so I'm going to have to move this from where it is. It is currently sitting right next to a southwest facing window, but I think I'm going to pull it back and put it on a shelf that's maybe 5 feet away from that window. It took me a while to really get into this one just because I was kind of like, it looks a little funky, but the more that I would see it, the more I wanted it. My friend actually just gave me a couple of cuttings that are growing right now. It has new growth like all over it, so I'm really excited for this one as well as the cuttings to start to grow. Okay, my next family of plants are the last family of plants, and they are my Calatheas. Now, if you guys know anything about plants or you've heard about houseplants, Calatheas tend to be the most picky. They're very hard to take care of. I'm starting to get the hang of handling Calatheas. I have a humidifier going pretty much anytime that I'm home. I just have them going directly on to the Calatheas. Calatheas in general like very moist soil. I tend to let them dry out halfway before putting more water because I just don't want to overwater them. The leaves will curl in and you'll be able to tell when they want water, but again, they just tend to be very difficult. Also, I lost a nail during my little dinner break, so don't mind that. My first Calathea, and also the hardest one for me to take care of, is this one right here. This is a Calathea zebrina, and this guy is just so picky. Granted, I did find this at a Home Depot. Super randomly, it was the only one, and its leaves were curling in. They were like doing that curling action kind of like this, and it wasn't the happiest. It had some yellowing on it, and I decided I wanted to get it because it was just so beautiful. You can see the pattern on this is just unreal. Calatheas in general have the most beautiful patterns on them. So I decided to pick it up, and for a little while it was doing pretty well, and then I started struggling. It's literally just on and off with this guy. Sometimes its leaves will be completely curled and I'll think that this is it, it's gonna die, like this is the most I'm gonna get out of this plant. And other times it does really, really well. Right now, I'd say it's doing pretty well. It needs some moist soil all the time. So I bought some pebbles at a garden center, and I have a little bit of water in there, and I just set it on top of that, and that creates some humidity on its own. Plus, I have it right under a humidifier, so it just needs all the humidity it can get. It does still have some browning on it, and there's some parts that I had cut off previously because it was yellowing. But you know, that's just how this one's gonna go, I guess. But it has a little bit of new growth here. It's the first time since I've had it that I've seen new growth right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty much telling me that it's finally happy and it's finally ready to start growing for me. All these leaves have gotten longer, but not necessarily given me new leaves, so that's pretty exciting. This is a Calathea Freddie. This pattern is very similar to the Calathea zebrina, except it's a little lighter in color and the leaves are a lot smaller. I love the light green and the stripes throughout it. It's so gorgeous. I find that Calatheas that have this type of stem, rather than the more celery-like looking ones like the zebrina, stems like these are way easier for me to take care of. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe they take in moisture better. I don't know, but so far so good with this guy. This is actually my newest Calathea. Calatheas in general like to be, I would say, in 50 to 70% humidity. A lot of my plants really do like humidity because a lot of them are tropical plants, but these especially needed it. So I highly recommend if you guys want to start collecting some tropical plants. Also, another side note, if you guys want to start collecting plants, especially Calatheas, I would recommend to get one of these. This is a Therm Pro, or basically what it does is it measures the amount of humidity you have, the temperature in your home, just basically everything that you need is on this little guy. I like to keep my Calatheas in about 50 to 60% humidity, which will be this number right here, and it'll tell you how much humidity is like in your home. So I think this has really, really helped me gauge how to take care of them. I bought mine on Amazon, so I will link it down below for you guys. This is my next Calathea. This is a Calathea pinstripe, and it is growing like crazy. I love this. It didn't have this super tall leaf whenever I got it. I think it was about half this size. Again, it has those similar stems that I feel like Calatheas, easier Calatheas, have. Overall, the leaves are dark green, and then they have some light green in them, and then the pinstripes are pink, which is so, so cool. And these are newer leaves, so they're a lot lighter in color, and as they grow, they're gonna get darker. It has some brown tips to it. This could mean that they're getting underwatered. I'd say with all my Calatheas, I try to water them at least once a week. Sometimes they'll need some more, especially with the hotter weather coming. Next up, I have my Calathea medallion. It's right here. It's a very, very beautiful one. These tend to be easier as well to take care of when it comes to Calatheas. It just has these beautiful medallion patterns, really, and the back side of it is a nice dark purple. Calatheas are also referred to as prayer plants because their leaves tend to move throughout the day. So in the daytime, Calatheas like to drop their leaves so they can take in all the sun, and then they'll kind of lift their leaves up throughout the night to rest, I guess. I don't know the scientific reasoning behind it. I know that I've heard several different reasons why, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. If you YouTube Calathea prayer plants moving or time lapse, then you can see what I mean about them moving. So they're called prayer plants because they go up and down just like prayer hands. This one definitely was more full in the back right here, but some of my leaves started to yellow, so I cut them off. I tend to like to cut off yellow leaves just because it signals to the plant not to keep trying to fix that leaf that's dying. And instead, when you cut it, it signals to the plant, hey, I gotta take care of the rest of my foliage. So I just went ahead and cut those, and I'm hoping for new growth sometime soon. It's doing a lot better than it was before. All right, the last two Calatheas and the last two plants that I'm gonna be showing you guys are, in my opinion, the most beautiful Calatheas that I own. This one right here is a Calathea orbifolia. This is such a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. These leaves are so large and so healthy. The color of the leaves, like the light green on the leaves, are just gorgeous to me. They look so shiny. They just look so healthy, and I am obsessed with this Calathea. This one in particular doesn't give me as much trouble as I thought that it would. I thought that this one was going to be a beast to take care of, but it's actually been pretty good, and I have some new growth coming in there. If you can see, this leaf right here is starting to unfurl. I keep this one right by the other ones to get the humidifier going on it. All the Calatheas like to be grouped together, by the way, because they kind of collect the humidity together. There's just something so gorgeous about this plant. I had been looking for this one for quite some time. It is dry on top right now, but I did water it about 2 days ago. So I'm gonna give it another day or two to dry a little bit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and water it, keep it in the humidifier's range, and hopefully it keeps on growing. My last plant for you guys is this one. This is a Calathea velvetia. I think I'm getting that name wrong, but it is a jungle velvet Calathea. And as you can see, these leaves look and feel just like velvet. It is honestly so insane. When I saw this at the store, I was like, oh, this one is coming home with me. There's no way. I love the dark lush green on this, and the pattern is just out of this world. Again, it has one of those celery looking stalks, so this Calathea is a little bit more difficult to handle. I actually watered it a little bit this morning because its leaves started to curl up on the sides. Just a couple of them were curling, so I watered it a little, put it with the humidifier, and already it's starting to look a lot better. I've seen smaller versions of these, but this one I would say is a pretty sizable one, so I'm very, very happy with this. I really feel like Calatheas are worth the hassle that they give you, because they're just, the foliage is just like no other plants. I don't recommend them to beginners. They're gonna give you a lot of stress at first, but once you get the hang of it, I think that you'll be very, very happy with it. Okay guys, that is everything for this video. I'm hoping that I didn't forget any of my plants, but if you want to see more of my plants and more of my propagations, please follow me on Instagram because I do post them on my stories a ton. I have a little plant highlight that I like to add to pretty much consistently, like pretty much every day. I feel like I'm constantly talking about my plants. I'm crazy. I know this whole plant journey thing is a lot, and I've done a ton of research, and I still have so much to learn. So anything or any information that I can give you guys that might be helpful, I'll put in the description down below for you guys. If you guys have further questions for me, please leave them in the comments down below. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this very, very long video. I apologize for the length of it, but I did want to just put all my plants in there, get it all in one video, just because I know a lot of people have been asking for it. If you guys like this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!